You ever wake up to some crazy ass fucking sound just to fucking look around and see what the fuck it is? You look out the window, you open the door quietly, and you just can't pinpoint that fucking sound. Then you turn everything off and get real fucking quiet. And then you have like a flashlight in your fucking hand just so when you hear that sound, you can aim at it and find out exactly what it is. Well, and then you come to find out that it's a fucking bug, a beetle, or some type of water bug or some shit. Something that fucking scares you that makes like the craziest sounds just because it's like, climbing the wall or something. I hate that shit. What's even worse is like, you know, you hear a noise and you're just like, what is going on? Shouldn't be anything. Your dog gets up, starts like growling, so you get up, and it's like some random ass person getting dropped off right in front of your house. Like, who does that? I guess people trying to stay on the deal, but that shit is not cool at all. Not cool with me, I know that. Who's out there right now? I can't sleep. I was asleep till I was woken up by some sound. Oh shit. This shit's all tangled up in my blanket. Oh, yeah, that's really nice. Oh, and then it's all crazy looking. Hmm. I could probably use a way better stand. Stanley, I can't stand this. Oh, now it's all fucking tangled. Excuse my language. I swear, I feel like I'm trembling, but I'm not. Ooh, too bright. Hurts my eyes. Oh my god. So, what do y'all want to talk about? Let's see if I can give some good answers or throat answers, yeah? Come on. Just work. Did I tighten it? Did I loosen it? How about them ghosts? Those cryptoids, whatever they're called. What the hell was that? Oh my gosh. Hmm. Oh, deleting some stupid shit that I didn't want to even deal with. Ooh, what kind of writing is that? Definitely foreign. 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 Foreign it all. Foreign it all. I'm all in and for it all. How about that? Is my camera really shitty? Maybe. Wait, that's not even the camera. Wait, where's the camera? Oh, right there. Hmm? Mm, damn, what time is it? Sun's about to come up, right? Maybe? I don't know. I have everything covered up in here. Can't see shit outside. I'm scared to look outside. You know why? Because sometimes there might be something waiting for me in the bushes. You ever seen those things in the bushes? You ever seen those things looking at you from the bushes? And it scares you so bad that you just can't stop looking at it because you want to make sure it's not coming at you. But at the same time, you won't go check it. Who believes in the witching hour? Who believes in star children? Who believes in those chosen ones? What about the unchosen ones? What about the mediums? What about the bridges? What about the interpreters? What about the informers? What about the judges? I already killed something a little while ago, and I'm just glad it wasn't a scorpion. I don't know what it was, but at least it wasn't a scorpion. I don't know how bad those really things are. I should Google it probably, but like those little brown scorpions. I remember when I was younger, I got stung by one, and I was just like sick for days. Like if I had like the worst flu or something like that, the worst. It was so bad. I was like running a fever. Nobody was here. Everybody was out of town, and I was just like, I don't know, stupid. I guess I just didn't even care to like call anybody, tell nobody, or even call 911. But apparently, I'm okay. Have you ever recorded smoke? Like if you download or if you have like any kind of info read or like you can download the apps that give you like the options for like different colors and stuff. If you ever like do that and record smoke, you can see some crazy stuff, and it's just like smoke is so fluid, like liquid is, but yet it can create shapes that literally only the human eye can like acknowledge just because it's like never nowhere else the same as it is in smoke. Hmm. No, nobody wants to talk about stuff. Nothing. What about aliens? Yeah, what about aliens? Hmm. I honestly think that at a point in time, whatever Neanderthals or whatnot, they had to have not just bred with other humanoid, you know, but had to have been crossed with some type of higher intelligence in order for them to actually start evolving quicker than they did from the beginning, right? Hmm. Yeah. How many of y'all believe that aliens are also, you know, um, coded as angels? These are all things from the heavens, outer space. Um, I always thought this, that what if there was an ancient civilization that became so intelligent that it ended up basically like its body mass withered away because it's already scientifically proven that usually in the womb, human beings, when they are developing, there is certain type of trade in through the development. For instance, like, people that are normally really super smart, they don't have like the physical, um, how would I say? So when you're really smart, you make up for the development with your intelligence. But usually, if you have more of a physical, um, what is that word I'm looking for? That physical, like strength, whatnot, physique, um, for survival, you that's how it works. So, like, you get more of one thing and less of the other. And where was I getting at with that? Anybody? Do y'all understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Probably not my point, but what about the words at least? No? Am I speaking gibberish? Anyways, what about like, RH negative blood and how they can't conceive and have a successful pregnancy when it comes to any other type of blood unless they get injected with this type of this shot that helps their body not reject the fetus. You ever thought about that one too? Which is crazy. I see a lot of people protesting or, wanting to spark up, information on what the fetus is, but it seems like they never dive deep enough into understanding that to have that as an argument because, like, it is kind of true, like how the human fetus is kind of like an invader, but it doesn't prove itself to be an invader unless it's like somebody with like RHO negative, because then it could either harm the person that's carrying, the carrier, or it would terminate itself because the body rejects it. It's kind of creepy. Actually, it's really creepy. But that could be why they also, like, conspiracy theorists also mention that there's like shapeshifters. What if they're not actually shapeshifters? They just look very similar to human beings because, like, why not? We already have human beings of all colors, and they do have all types of structure, like facial structure, but physique structures, uh, like commonality too. For instance, like certain races are, mm, commonly more short than usual than others. Some races are known to be more taller. Some races are known to be, uh, you know, albino, like blonde. Some races are known to like have, blue eyes or green eyes or something like that. But of course, you always have those rare ones that are like albino or like completely solid dark. And it's like, well, when you think about it, I mean, it just happens. And then, animal kingdom as well, right? We have those. And that's just what they consider a gene abnormality because it's like, um, what's the word I'm looking for? What is that word I'm looking for? A mutation. A mutation in the gene. You ever thought about why it's crazy how a lot of people actually tend to gravitate towards certain mutations, like dimples in the cheek. That's considered a mutation. Um, I mean, there's so many different things that are considered mutations, but at the same time, uh, majority of human beings are attracted to these things. Why, I'm not sure. It could be just over generations, uh, adapting to different preferences, or I don't know. It's kind of like popular things, or like when people do cute things, like say something cute or make a cute face, and then it's like, it becomes their little it thing, and people just tend to like it. Like some people look really good grinning to the side instead of having a full smile. Some people look really cute with their dimples. Well, I don't think I've ever. Dimples, they are just cute, literally, but yeah, it's crazy. But there are like certain other type of mutations that are obviously not, favorable to the human naked eye, um, for the most part, just because those mutations are really prominent. And when it's really prominent, it's disliked just because it's like bam in your face. You can't deny it. Kind of like hard truths at time. But you ever notice that people with what is the word I'm looking for? People that are abnormal, like that suffer from like um, is it Down syndrome? Yeah, I think it's Down syndrome, or I don't know if autism is really part of that group. But yeah, like people with Down syndrome, you ever notice how they all of their bodies are basically developed so similar. Um, they look very similar, and it has a lot to do with, like I was saying, how the development, um, the the fetus will gain so much in certain areas for it, the best of its survival, and lack in other areas. So sometimes you'll get, you know, I've yet to really come across or, you know, see anybody that was like, super strong as well as super intelligent. I mean, there are very many intelligent people that do take care of themselves and stay fit, of course. But have you ever seen just somebody that was like super genius automatically with a fit physique? I swear to God, I just heard somebody laugh in the background. Yeah, so I'm in the quiet with my thoughts. And they're not random thoughts. They're thoughts that, you know, run off into various places, but also come back to a certain point. Oh, so my point about human beings being also aliens, like, what if a civilization, ancient civilization, became so intelligent that their bodies started withering away, and then they became like really skinny and crazy looking, like frail. It's already known too in the scientific world that babies nowadays are being born like without gallbladders or something like that, and it's has a lot to do with evolution and adaptation apparently. But what if that's what happened? So, what people consider aliens are actually ancient human beings. They just became so smart that they've lost a lot of their physical mass. I think I'm saying that right. And think about it. What if they got so smart that they even lost all reason for physical feeling? And they've gotten so smart that they can't go any further. So they're obsessed with trying to reverse that. Um, could be a part of the elite, the real elite. Um, could be also why, people theorize like on the government, you know, spreading certain things out there and amongst humanity on purpose to research. I mean, it could just be because it's not just the harvesting of organs for like the black market and stuff, but it could literally be um, stemming from the necessity of these aliens or whatever needing to keep revitalizing themselves with a continuous transplant of new organs. You get what I'm saying? Like, what if that's really what's going on? And all these practices are pretty much what they seem, but like I said, they have a deeper meaning, like they come from a deeper side of everything. For instance, there's this thing I learned called like the pyramid in a certain type of workforce. And what you do is you basically you start off as somebody like on the bottom, and you are doing a lot of work for whoever hired you. And then you become, closer to the top. But in order to get closer to the top, you have to start hiring people yourself to do the work for you. Then you get to sit back and watch it happen. Well, in my theory, um, I figured, you know, how smart and how um, convenient would it be to, you know, train somebody or show somebody, hey, this is how you train a dog. And then you teach them how to train a dog. And in reality, you're training them to train. But they don't realize that because they're blinded by the overwhelming feeling of power and, accomplishment. So they don't realize that they're also being trained because they're so involved with believing that they're training something. And it could all just be like a super huge experiment that has gone, for the most part, probably right for all these people, like the ones that started it all. But yeah, I mean, how easy is it to blind somebody by making them feel like they have power, you know, when really you have power over them because you influence them? I mean, where do you think this whole big idea of influencing came from to begin with? I mean, and it's not just like soul collecting, but it's as well as just, yeah, renting space in people's minds. Because when you can make a wave happen, then you can kind of control the current. So, in a way, when you can do this with human beings, it's kind of like they belong to you when you can influence them to do what you want, to move how you want, or to rock out the way you want them to. And in a way, it's like soul collecting because when you can have a huge following of, influenced people, um, basically you're on top of that pyramid, you know? Like, yeah. And honestly, I think that's what it is as well. Like a lot of famous people, the reason why they had so much power for so long is because of that influence that they have on the population. I mean, think about it. Think about it. I mean, it's like nothing but kings and queens or whatnot, but in the modern days. So that way they're not attacked by any rebels or, um, how would I say, like um, Robin Hoods, attacked and their kingdom being stolen from them. So it's, you know, makes only sense. They'd have to evolve their ways of living as well. And, you know, if it was still like it was back then, where you could just like kill a king and take that person's kingdom away from them just because you killed them and took their throne, then I mean, you would think that they would figure out through generations, how can we prevent this from happening? So what they did was, instead of keeping it as its original title of being a king or a queen, they changed the title to modern things like president, or you know mayor, or senator. And when you think about it, all these people are just taking turns at the throne. And it doesn't literally have everything to do with, merit. Most of the time, it has everything to do with their popularity or their inheritance, like, being related to someone who's already, you know, gotten to a certain place. And I mean, yeah, people can start a new path like from nothing and get there, but how often do you see that to happen? Majority out of out of most is usually handed down. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, pass the torch to the next one. And the reason why they're considered most, what's the word? Um, Meritable? No. Most, what is that word? Oh my gosh. Not suitable, but, like when somebody has enough information, knowledge, because they did all the schooling or whatnot. So it's basically like merit, but they automatically get that first, you know, foot in the door just because it's knowledge that's somewhat been passed down through generations. So they kind of, hi, how are you doing? How are you doing? Are you listening to me rant? Am I ranting? Am I not making any sense? Let me know, please. Do I just sound crazy? Actually, if I sounded crazy, I'd probably be a lot more interesting, a lot more fun. Crazy people are usually really interesting. Except for the scary ones, right? The ones that are really scary and terrifying. The ones you can't control at all and can't even really, what's the word? Can't even predict what they're going to do next. Those are scary people. Um, but it's not just crazy people that, I mean, I guess they could be crazy too, but um, there are certain types of people that are not considered crazy that can also do that. They're called manipulators. Manipulators. I said hi too. Eric Williams. Hello, hello. That's funny. I almost read that one message. This is message retracted. I almost thought it said message redacted. Do you concur on anything I say? Am I just an observer? Am I not supposed to speak anything? I mean, honestly, the only way I can find the bridges and find, the information that is even more rare, that is like between the lines, I have to speak it out. Sometimes it helps if I get feedback, especially if like turns into like a small debate. Could be a big debate. I don't know, but whatever helps me question it um, helps me figure even more out. Just like I've promised not to say where it's at. They've tried to literally get me to tell them or show them where it's at, and no, I can't. I cannot do that. It's something like an arc, you know, not exactly an arc, but it's like the description of an arc. You know anything about arcs? I mean, for the most part, they've already um, utilized, or what is the word? They've already kind of inherited an arc. Where do you think the radio came from? Broadcasting. The only difference is, I think what they did find isn't like fully, um, like it wasn't, they found it probably like really broken up and not fully what intact. Is that the word? Yeah, intact. Hi, RH. RH. What does that stand for? Like RHO negative? Red panty party? Oh my god, that's so crazy you say that. And there's a reason why I say that. Let me see your red panties first. Let me see if there's any information in them. No, no, no. I'm not going to answer no more questions of where I'm from. No, no more. That's like really irrelevant. That's besides the point. I'm from planet Earth, though. I do know that for not sure. Like, um, I know this flesh, for the most part, um, was obtained here on Earth, but not every single bit of my entire being is from this planet. Planet Red Panty, oh my gosh. Honestly, I want to say from Venus, but no, definitely not from Venus. Definitely from that area though, in that direction. How many of you believe that the moon is actually man made or alien made, whichever one you want to consider it? My religion, honestly, I don't have, I don't, I don't, what is the word, like reside, like, I don't have one denomination of anything. Yeah, because it's harder to understand things if you listen from one what am I trying to say? Let's just say you can learn more through all religions. It's up to you to be wise enough to learn how to pick and choose what is reliable and correct. I look pretty. That's the red light. Red So One. That's what I want to say it. I look Palestine. Well, thank you. Yeah. Actually, the red light makes me look like I have bigger eyebrows, and it makes me look like I have darker eyes. My eyes are very light colored. Wait, why does this look like I have more makeup on this eye than I do this one? Maybe I do, huh? Mm-hmm. From red light Iraq area, red light area. I've actually always wanted to visit Persia. Um, I don't know. Something about those areas kind of do attract me. Not sure why. Normally, I don't get involved in a lot of stuff. Sometimes I predict things before they happen. Um, Sometimes, actually, um, I will like blab, just speak my mind and say things that I feel or that come to mind or that catch my eye. And it's like almost as if I was the start of certain type of revolutions, and not knowing or meaning to started some major stuff. So actually, I don't even think I look American. I don't know what I look like actually, honestly. Um, my facial features are um, not of any average or norm, honestly. I have a prominent jawline, and I have you know, girls with big lips don't have lips like mine. Mine are like not, what is the word? They're not plump. They just are formed and shaped in an upright position. Like, like I have like this kind of like a duck bill kind of shape to the top of my lip, and it's flat. Juicy lips, thank you. Well, I do have some Native American in me. Um, my grandma is Apache and Comanche. You know, like I said, I really don't like to get into things like that because my outlook on things aren't necessarily, how would I say, I never take up for one side, but honestly, I do know and believe that everybody has the right to live, especially if they're already here on this planet existing. It's just hard, when you feel like you have found a home and there is, you know, um, there is somebody out there to prove you wrong. And, you know, even let's just say I know what it means to fight for the grounds I stood on, even though I was being told by, a bigger amount of bodies than myself that I did not belong and that it was not mine. But I felt that it was right for me to fight because I was there at that moment, only for my soul, my dignity, um, for my mentality. So I wouldn't completely feel like I let myself down and just let something being took it out from under me, you know? And it is sad. It is sad that in reality, this world is literally populated by most people who do want a say in everything and more control than, you know, and I just, I'm like one of those people. I wish there was a possibility of human beings realizing that they're so much more advanced than than their quick anger and retaliation for things, that they could actually come to a point of realization. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like peace, but maturity plays a huge part, you know. It's always healthy to know when to take a loss and to not be like, a sore loser, but at the same time, when is it right for the other side to not be like a sore winner, or, you know greedy, or, like, I mean, for instance, I know it's really difficult to put like, you know a tiger and a crocodile in the same den and expect them to get along, but that's why they have their, you know territories. Like, crocodiles are in the water for the most part, and tigers are on land. And when you think about it, it is survival of the fittest. And of course, it's going to be a part of our human nature always. It's really never going to change, because that is just literally what life is all about. It just so happens that I I hope or wish that maybe one day there could be a different way of battling to, you know, even the odds or whatnot. Hi, Ugra, U, Ugra, Singe. Hmm. I mean, there are rules to it too. It's like you can have an argument, but it does make a difference for whoever throws the first punch. I am from a place by Venus. I once lived on the moon, but I pixelated here on planet Earth. I like to say I'm the original pixel. Well, at least I came from it. Geography. Where are y'all from? Up self gaming high. Gamers are so cool. You know, that could be a way to settling differences instead of taking it physical and violent, you know? Maybe people could just settle scores through like video games. I mean, of course, we would always have. Well, it's hard to have a referee because you never know if the referee is like in favor of one party or not. And God, I wish it would just be so much easier. We could all make a set of rules and all follow them without anybody actually, you know, jumping out of line, getting out of line, and not. How am I doing today? I'm doing pretty good. Turn on the light. Pakistan. I'm one to admire and really see the depth in different cultures. For one, I admire the most thing I admire is the amount of loyalty that people have to their culture. I think it's really, really beautiful. It's just there's so much strength in that, and you know where to place that strength so all the world could appreciate and not be scared of it is hard to do. I understand that, especially when you've had to go so long defending yourself. Same for those that are always on the offense. It's always two sides to the same coin. upside upside down question marks. What are those? Love, love back at you. What I'm doing to figure life and the world out. Honestly, being open to everything. You know, the times that I'm right and told that I'm wrong, times that I've proven myself right by not proving it and waiting it out and letting time to prove itself, basically. Um, Finding out when it was right for me to choose to fight. I'm still learning on. Um, I'm still learning and practicing the mediator part, like knowing how to calm myself and whatever obstacle I'm faced with. Um, I think I speak too much like or I think too much like just like a philosopher, a stoic, and you know, it's hard for people. Well, it's hard for the general population to understand people like that because we don't have just one preferable idea or decisive way of being. It's like we're, what is it called? My favorite words, like a double conundrum or an oxymoron. Thank you. Honestly, I used to fight and do that. And honestly, like I was saying, I got really strong, but also a little, what is the word, airheaded, because I got so confident with, you know, never really being proven wrong in so many ways. I mean, there's been a lot of things I've been proven wrong about, but for the most part, my mentality and my my belief system. And the crazy thing about that is, most of the time, I'm only proving it to myself. I don't actually get recognized by a lot of those who witness it, only because they become as well as overly confident and not so much as arrogant, but just more like, stubborn, like hard headed. Like they just don't want to admit it. Red and dark. I don't know. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Let me try other colors. Huh? Green, blue. Oh, that's really dark. Yellow. I don't like the blue one so much. The purple one is all right, but it has a lot to do with me not being able to see the screen either. Like I really can't see what anybody's saying when the lights are so bright in my eyes. Oh, my shirt says NASA. NASA. Yeah, confidence does scare people, and I come to learn too that well, I've come to scare myself. I don't ever want to be like that that you know 15, 20 year professional surgeon or doctor that ends up misdiagnosing people because he's overly confident. Therefore, he doesn't take any um, extra consideration to, um, you know, testing or looking for what other possibilities of whatever, you know, diagnosis could be. And instead, they just diagnose one thing and they end up, hurting that person really bad just because it's actually a thing too. The yellow light. Yeah, but I can't see what everybody's writing. I am, I am, I am here in peace from a star in a close by galaxy. Like I said, first I traveled to the moon and got here. The moon had to be created first, though, in order to help this planet become what it is now, because without the moon being created, the planet wasn't in the exact position of orbit it is in order to sustain life. So the moon was created in order to basically help it magnetize it into place. And I believe, if I'm not wrong, I believe that the construction that was still being done on the moon um, had a part in a lot of the destruction and extinctions on this planet. Trial and error. Yeah, exactly. And that's one thing I'm always conscious of and always telling, like, questioning myself. Am I separating my confidence from arrogance? Because I do not want to be arrogant. It The times I was arrogant, it never got me nowhere. It only, like I said, those were the times that I only proved to myself, and those that witnessed it could have accepted what was proven, but only didn't because my arrogance caused them to just deny it instead all the way. Red Shoe Diaries. I thought it said Red Shoe Diarrhea for a second. Oh my god. Back in the 90s. Oh man. I bet you being alive back in the 70s, or I would say 50s, 60s, 70s, and 90s probably were more exciting than now just because um, things were more fresh back then. Like they weren't so common. So when people experienced things, it was more exciting. Now people pretty much know what to expect. So I honestly, I see people totally enjoying themselves, and I just wonder how they actually do that. Um, I think sometimes being very conscious kind of, um, what is the word, like desensitizes, which is why I have my theory about the intelligent, like, you know, the ancient civilizations that possibly become what we consider aliens or extraterrestrials now. Yeah, that's true. That is very true. That is very true. That is why one of my most admired female stoics is Portia Cato, and not exactly because of um, not exactly because of the reasoning why she did what she did, but because of the brute strength that she had to do what she did in order to come to her conclusion and her decisions. Instead of being indecisive, she was confident in her ways and went with it, no matter how bad it hurt. Be on a pole dancing. Yeah, I would totally be on a pole dancing if only that pole would like spew out knowledge, you know? That would totally be interesting. Like I could dance on that around it all the time. Like seriously. What am I talking about? I'm just talking about different things. I'm talking about just humanity, particularly. Yeah, yeah, and like instead of dollar bills being thrown at me, I would prefer like, you know, um, let's just say like forms or um, paper forms with like facts and logic and philosophy ideas on it and things that you know I could collect and like read later and then use to inspire me to come up with another dance. Yeah, humanity is overrated, which is why there is no median between those that are violent and those that are violent. those that want so much, so much for their words to be more important than others, and those who just want to be as important, or because they have been neglected being heard, right? I mean, like literally, it's crazy because like there's so many therapists that have already figured all this out, and yet it's like mass hysteria. You can't get, you know, one person to speak so much truth and have, you know, so many from all sides believe it, because everybody is, you know, in the stage of what is the word? Not yeah, like paranoia, that there's a reason why they're being told this, and it could possibly be to manipulate them and take something from them. Um, on the defense, you know, if all of humanity wasn't always on the defense, then there could be so much more time to enjoy the moments, right? Only the you. There's only the you and humanity, as well as hearing the word man in humanity, but it's not just for men, it's for mankind, which is weird because does it that kind of ring the bell? Like, if it's for mankind, they consider man first because it's most dominant. And in certain stories, man was created first, then it was woman, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, you're right. Ego is what causes all the blindness and disruption. What's the weather going to say? Throw the ideas at you, strip for knowledge. That would be interesting, you know, if somebody really hot, like really, really sought after by humans was like literally that way. They would like strip for knowledge, and then they would, you know, have like a quiz before every performance, and whoever could come up with an answer or a great logical, um, I just heard something else crazy, a great like logical explanation, then they could get like a private dance. That would be awesome. Yeah, definitely beast. Oh yeah, definitely. Everybody's got opinions. Yep. That's and actually in reality, that's why I stumble over my words, because it's hard for me to find words to use in a sentence without it sounding like it's just my opinion. And that's not because I don't want it to sound that way. Well, I don't want it to sound that way to anybody else, but it's also because it doesn't set well with myself if I don't feel like I'm being as clear as I should be. and I do struggle with my words. It's funny because a lot of times I'm really good with terminology and literature or whatnot, but it's usually whenever I'm like in a debate with someone, then stuff just comes to me naturally. But when I am not on the defense, I have more time to think about how I'm coming across because I don't like to be misunderstood or misconstrued. But oh, that's nice. I actually like that. Strip for knowledge, meaning you strip away all the fake, you hide behind the naked in your truth. That's actually pretty deep. Like, I like that. I love stuff like that, actually. Stuff like that makes you reevaluate what you're reading and what you're understanding, which is also a very clever way of helping someone come to certain um, conclusions, understandings. You know, in reality, it really is so true. It is so true about women. I mean, that's why if it's not, you know, for the most part to begin with, and the beginning of a lot of time, um, there was more human beings uh, either wanting the feminine or wanting to be like the feminine. One thing I've learned is so like Freemasons actually have these these classes, um, or not just classes, but they have like these basically like scientists, people that study things. So one of their practices is actually to study the woman because it just so happens that women naturally have certain abilities that men have only strived to have. For instance, because women can be, what is the word? Soft, but also, um, so put it like this. Um, just for an example, a woman, a queen, could be so loyal and so strong to her king, but at the same time be so lenient and forgiving with the king, but stand by his side as the queen and not go against him. It's kind of like that movie, The 300 or whatever. Well, see, okay, the masculine that makes me that kind of pops up in my head. What I was trying to get at is that the masculinity, it is a beautiful thing. It really is, because it is also what grounds the feminine. You can't have one without the other, honestly, because if you did, you wouldn't have all the knowledge that we can have today. But in reality, the masculinity is it's kind of, it can, for the most part, it plays like a wall or a brick, and a brick in the wall. Like it can, most likely, possibly, well, it does put more of a wedge between things than bringing things together. The feminine has more of the ability to bring things together. Masculine is more offense, and feminine is well, to begin in the beginning, before, mm, masculine and feminine have been, tainted by um, so much pain and, trauma. Yep, exactly, to get things done. And for them being that way, that is where, feminine comes into play with their appreciation of those things, to want to, what is, God, I keep forgetting all the words that I want to say. Um, it's like this: you don't want to see someone do all the work if you can make it easier on them when you appreciate. So that's where the balance comes from. But for the most part, yes, women also can be like dividers only in certain situations, but in reality, it's because, like, well, and I am speaking from opinion, most likely. You're right. If it wasn't for trauma, then there would be only glass windows to look through instead of realizing that they need to be cleaned off. For quick questions, yep, I'm listening. Hello. What are the quick questions? Oh, wow. I've never read that, but I will look into that. What, those were crazy questions. Everything farts, especially if it's, if it breathes air, you know? Um, if it do it smell. Um, it wouldn't if pheromones didn't exist. My favorite color, hematite, which is the darkest silver, and if not hematite, it'd be indigo. Do I have a cool job? I've had cool jobs. I have. Um, Now I have, well, it is a cool job. It helps me learn how to socialize more. Can I believe in God? Of course, of course. I've come to the conclusion of a higher being existing only because I'm not a scientist, but I have had plenty of intelligent people that were scientists and, like, um, etc. Scientists, tell me that, ask me how did I come to the conclusion when I mentioned that, just from the little bit of information I've been able to pick up, I have thought about it and came to the conclusion that if it's so true that one creation can be a coincidence. Two creations can be a coincidence, just like a flicker in the, a flicker from the light of the sun. You know how it rains, it doesn't just rain once or twice, but there's, you know, basically it's like this. After the third, after um, the third happening, it proves that there's more than just a coincidence, that there is a pattern that had to be created by something divine that had a plan. For instance, evolution, there's natural selection. Mm, yeah. What if the planet Earth wasn't populated with anything and then hit by asteroids or whatnot? And then there was like, the beginning of create like, life, the beginning of life, for everything that evolves, there's something there, pushing it to that aftermath of existence. It doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, so that only proves that there's something controlling everything, no matter what you want to call it or see it as. Personally, I I have dang, I forgot another word. A simple word too. I have not just concluded, but I have considered, you know, how they talk about dark matter, right? How they can't, they know it's there, but they can't detect it, nor can they measure it in any form or way, matter. But they know it's there, and it is what basically holds everything together, as well as pushing everything to where it's at or where it's going. And to me, I've also connected it with this crazy simple little meaning. So, there's a definition of the word OF. Definition of is, oh my goodness, did I just really forget it? It is what is in between that meets the part. And oh, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to look up the dictionary again and see it. But basically, it's saying that what is in between that line that connects one piece to another is what matters. And in a way, I consider that like part of the dark matter. Um, you know, it's not seen, you can't touch it, you can't, measure it, you can't hold it, you can't contain it, but but they know it exists. Um, because it is what they can't detect. They've been able to detect all kinds of everything else, like radiation, etc. But there's this one particle that they cannot detect, but they know it's there because it is what leaves that empty space between their research, and they can't explain it, nor can they create the technology to detect it or measure it. And when you think about it, like, dark matter is everything. It is what's between each and every individual atom, like literally what holds atoms together. It's not just the atmosphere and this thing, etc., and whatnot, but it is exactly what dark matter is. It's like, in a coloring book, when you color inside the lines, well, you ever thought about that dark that dark space that creates that's right in between each side of the line? Now think about it. Each side of the line is the white page, right? You have the dark ink that separates every little detail of the picture. Well, it might be so small, but it still can be measured. But when you go to the, like, what is it, like, beyond the microscopic level of it, you can't really measure it, but you know it's there because there is the beginning and the end of something, right? So whatever that is what tells everything that exists what to do, what to be, what to become. Yep, definitely. Hypersensitive is, um, it is a gift as well. This is weird. I don't claim a particular denomination, religion. I have I have grown up being forced information and knowledge from different religions by my mother. Um, and then after I went through a period of, rejecting it all, like I said, I came back to it because it has meaning that even connects to scientific um, discoveries. What am I doing? I'm just laying here on the bed. What is that novel? Watch Daddy as ASMR. I've probably looked at it, don't know what it is exactly. I look at a lot of stuff, not because it's, well, there's a type of entertainment that I get from things, just because I like to figure out what was going through the person's mind that created it, or what they might have concluded to create it, or what inspired them to create it. Yeah, I agree with the morals. So there's this one movie that it literally made me cringe and sick to my stomach because of how raw it ex- it how it what is the word I'm looking for, not promoted, but I want to say exposed. It was exposing, but it just like, not represent, what is the word I'm looking for, like when something shows the true side of something, like, I can't think of it right now, but it's the movie is called The Divided. Oh my god, and it is so crazy. It really is. But it was so true, like it was so exposing. It really, really, really is exposing of humanity, and it's crazy. It really is, but it was like on point on how and why survival would be like almost impossible. It is a great movie, The Divided. It, but I only advise you to watch it if you have a strong stomach, and if you're not such a overthinker or deep thinker, because that movie was just like, I mean, it was too real, because it even, it was relatable to even what is experienced to in these days, like these moments, without the world being at its end, like, because that's what the movie is about. It's like about um basically some kind of, something happens on the planet's surface. I'm not sure if it's everywhere on the planet, but it happens on the planet's surface in this area where it's like a nuclear bomb or something, and these people get trapped under this building that this like in a bunker type deal that this guy had built, and he didn't mean to let so many people in, but he does, and it just shows how people try to survive as well as they try their hardest to um, to communicate and come together and be civil about things. But then there's always that one person that just can't stick to the rules and causes mayhem for everybody, because then everybody starts turning on each other when they realize, oh, once one person is literally out for themselves. And it's just crazy because it ends up showing what they do to the few females that were alive in that place with them, because um yeah, there was more men than there were females. The divide, I think it's called the divide, not the divided, it's called the divide. I'm just making shit up. Well, honestly, um, what exactly is making shit up? Because a lot of my conclusions and a lot of the things that I have found to relate to information I have gathered isn't a lot of it isn't. I've found a lot of it actually in a lot of books. I just describe it differently, but yeah, I mean, it's not exactly made up, but it is. Um, it's kind of like made up, but not exactly, because there's there's like there's a logic to it. Like, it's just crazy. It's just hard for me to explain the logic when ah when, like I said, I'm trying so hard to find the words. Um, but it's really hard to find words that are you know that are easily met in the middle of understanding. Um, because if I knew more English literature, I probably could. Um, but at the moment, I don't. So um, anything I say that isn't calculated correctly could easily be, it could easily like set somebody off. And I don't mean like set somebody off and like they'll get angry, but more like it would put them in a different direction that probably isn't what I want. But what, and not what I mean by what I want is, because what I want is just to express myself and not totally be judged. And because what I'm saying is really fluid, it doesn't, I'm not saying anything that means one particular thing. It actually derive like it actually has more meaning to it. Um, just like, a simple way of explaining it, like the word the, you can use the word the in so many different ways to explain so many different things, but that word continues being the, you know um so yeah, I don't know. I am a weirdo. Rohan from Pakistan, hi. How am I staring at the phone? I'm so cute, thank you. And wait, but the camera's up here. Okay, I see maybe what you're saying, because I keep looking at myself right there. But I'm also looking at what you're writing right here. That's what I was like trying to figure out. I'm not good with this camera stuff. Only when it comes to taking pictures of other people, I'm really good at that. It's so sticky. homosexuality took over. I've actually concluded that a few years back. So I've understood this much, like what I think could be happening with that is that, okay, so for instance, you know, um, as we know that masculinity has its ways of being dominant, and for the most part, what I think I've come to understand is that, you know, um, there's always something that causes or ushers evolution. And sometimes it's not all good, you know? Like, for instance, sometimes we evolve um, to not just be like survival of the fittest, but to be like, you know, survival and fitter than more than necessary. So, what I've considered is that, so it's not just mental, it's also, what is the word? Like, it's also affected by physical. Um, so, okay, so my this was my thought trip. I thought about it, and I thought to myself, um, a young boy, um, growing up, let's say, growing up in a family with more males and very few females, and let's just say, you know, nutrition plays a factor. Since we all know that what we intake has an effect on our hormones, and our hormones affect our mentality as well as our physical. So just think about it like this, you know, um, it's very plausible to consider that a young boy being, risen in a family with more masculine than feminine, and let's just say he isn't as developed as the other males. Like, he lacks in certain things. He might be smaller. You know, um, he might, be just deficient in something, and he gets picked on, as well as witnessing how, the feminine are cared for and protected, as well as guided. And this could be, like trauma response, especially at a young age. It could cause somebody to, wonder about these things, and want to, you know why they don't get to receive those things. And in reality, everyone should be allowed to receive these things, but because of the way, culture is one of them, because of the way things are usually done, they're not, those things aren't considered for like, for male figures or whatnot. So, being told, man up, or stop crying, or stop being, so sensitive or whatnot, could could cause that person, that young man, to yearn for these things, because he's being neglected something that he wasn't receiving, you know, which could be, recognition, acknowledgement for what he can accomplish instead of for what he is lacking. And this could easily cause, just the same as for a female, could cause this person to not only yearn for it, but to, fantasize about it. And as we know, when we think deeply into things, it pretty much becomes us. And the way we think and our functionality of thought process has a lot to do with our hormones. So a lot of times, if we're lacking certain hormones, then certain thoughts could lead to, yes, physical reactions like depression and low melatonin, certain things like that. We know this is scientifically proven. And so consider the greater the number of this plausibility happening. Well, if that number um, is great as well, then we are very likely to for these numbers to come across each other, to communicate and relate. Then what happens is they pretty much, start experimenting with each other. And honestly, there's nothing, it's a beautiful thing for any human to recognize the ability of another human and to appreciate or want to appreciate and want to experience the ability of another human. Like, for instance, you know, why can't um, why can't any male figure be held and protected and guided with strength and loyalty and with open eyes and open arms? you know why does it always have to be the feminine being considered what deserves to be held and caressed with you know protective and strong arms and willpower? And it's like, so of course this is going to happen. um, and then when these greater numbers of those who have gone through these things come together, it's easy for, like, when they start experimenting, it's easy for them to get lost in their translation. And especially because you know male beings of everything in this world have more of what is the word, the urge to mate. Their urge to mate is a lot stronger than females for the most part. Um, I think nowadays when females do it, it's just mainly because not so much as what their physical is telling them, but more of what their heart desires, but they can't find it, so their mind tells them to just go through with it in certain ways. So yeah, everybody kind of has like an excuse as well, but in reality, that's what happens with evolution, the way things go. So, for instance, of course, there would be that. So, it just so happens that that is what I think probably happened a lot, like back then, like in the Roman days, right? Roman days, um, Roman days, Roman days, like, I forgot where I read it, but I did read that there was a lot of like politicians or people that were like, high ranks when it came to royalty, like people that were in charge of things. And there was a lot of men, or not exactly a lot, but yeah, there were more than a handful of men that probably most likely had gone through that were belittled by people that were important to them because they weren't as great as Hercules or something. And it just so happens that envy can cause a lot of you know misjudgment and cause people to choose differently than what they would without that envy. But so my point is, it started with a long time ago that there were people, there were males that experimented with their sexuality, and who, even if I'm right about what caused them to get to that point of wanting to experiment, that it's pretty much just in the male's DNA as well, anyways, to become sexually active, especially through aggression. And aggression comes in all forms, like, for instance, winning something can cause like a powerful adrenaline rush and urge that can cause a certain type of aggression. um, it's crazy how that works, but yeah. So it's just like these people experimented, but sadly, they were looked down upon. So a lot of times they had to take on wives in order to stay in their ranking because it was looked down upon if you were that way and not, if you weren't heterosexual. And it makes crazy natural selective logic when you think about it because, you have to have two strong minds that can create an empire to rule something. So, in order for that to happen, it has to be reproductive, meaning as, male and female. So, it wasn't acceptable to be bisexual or a, what is the word, gay man back then. So, they had to hide their sexuality. And in a therapist's opinion, I've heard them explain is that, when a person has to hide a certain something, it causes them to find even more aggressive, different arousals about it. So it can even become more overwhelming and overcoming of that person and them not really finding a way out of it or a way to balance it. But so yeah, so there was a lot of like Romans that would have wives but take on young boys from families and raise them basically as their boyfriend, their side piece or whatnot. And they would do that like under wraps so no one knew. Um, but yeah, to be politically correct, they wouldn't allow that to be exposed. And it makes sense, like I said, because if you're trying to, you know, um, be as great as others, like for instance, you know, all rich people, or not all rich people, but for the most part, a lot of rich people um, are not. They are very similar in so many ways. Like a lot of rich people wouldn't just go and how would I say, like, okay, so like us regular people, like how we go and sit at booths that haven't been cleaned off or anything like that, and we just use napkins from the little dispenser. But a lot of these rich people don't do that because they prefer or yeah, the actual napkins that are cloths. They're different, and it's just society, the way society is, right? So this is how a lot of this happens. But those people consider only two heads of household. Um, what is the word? Acceptable, right? So king and queen, not king and prince, but king and queen, because you can't evolve with two men, not empire wise, um, because it's never going to be an empire just of one sex, right? It'll be an empire of both, most likely. So yeah, in order to rule, that's what they had to do. In order to be respected, that's how they had to be and live. And in order to maintain their respect against their amongst their peers, they had to maintain those certain images, which is crazy because it's kind of what's still happening nowadays. It's not acceptable. I mean, it is, what's the word, tolerable, but it's not exactly acceptable to be like that and be respected, because how can you really respect somebody if you feel that they are mentally dysfunctional in a type of way? How does a spirit or an orb appear out of nowhere? I'm pretty sure those things appear not exactly out of nowhere, but out of a thin, like for instance, you can have a sheet of paper, and if you get like a magnifying glass, that sheet of paper is not going to be exactly one. one solid thickness all the way across. There's never nothing that perfect. So like for instance, even a marble that feels super smooth has rough edges if you dig deeper, like if you look into it like with a microscope. So it's like that. It doesn't just appear out of nowhere, it actually just comes out of a thin layer of space, like the dark matter I was talking about. Richard, be quiet. Yep, sexuality definitely does drive the human being. I mean, it literally does, females and males. Crazy thing about that is, yeah, females were literally deprived of it forever because, for the most part, while men got away with same sex activity, even though it was frowned upon, um, for the most part, a lot of women would be, right, brutally murdered or killed for anything like that. Even, yeah, it's always been a little rougher and harder on women than it has on men. Drives you to be in love with Richard. Well, that's awesome. Love is a great thing. Signals. Oh, yeah. Send them signals. I will. Banana wants lemon. Okay, so another thing about ghosts, I believe that ghosts, like hauntings by human beings, has a lot to do with like their blood. Wherever the blood is spilled, especially whenever they're going through something so horrible or so dramatic or horrific that their energy is like literally channeled and embedded into their blood, then of course it being soaked into the ground or whatever object it's soaked into would continue that energy source for as long as it possibly can. And sometimes because of the way, for instance, like the way the moon holds the planet Earth in its place, like in its orbit, that's very, very plausible for energy that is placed here on the planet Earth, just the same as, you know, um, light rays. Um, Light rays travel away from the, what am I saying? Light rays travel away from the source of the light. So it's kind of the same, even though, like, for instance, source of the light doesn't really just evaporate or descend into nothing. I mean, there are exploding stars, but before they explode, they do channel a lot of energy, which, you know, uh, all beings and all things of planet Earth are made of, stardust. So it just makes sense that especially certain areas of the planet, would have like better magnetism and certain type of minerals that would probably um, create a better channel for that energy that is spilt. And I believe that has a lot to do with the energy that comes from our mind, like, from our neurons and like, if you think about it, we actually have photons in our brain. Like, it is the same thing as like glowworms. It's just so uh, not as bright, but they do have machines that detect it, so it does exist. But that's the energy I believe is embedded into the blood, because just the same as your blood keeps you alive and it's flowing, your energy flows through your blood, which is same as your hormones and your neurons, whatnot, is what helps continue that energy generation, like generating within the body. So it only makes sense to me that that's very plausible and what could happen. I mean, and I talk about minerals and stuff because it's like this, you can only find certain deposits of certain minerals in certain areas of the earth just because of certain type of other minerals that had what is like magnetism going on. Magnetism is everything, you know. So I mentioned this the other day. Crazy thing is, so it's very rare, but it happens. It took me forever to figure out exactly what it was. So one time, my metal door was pinching, pinching um, an extension cord that I was using to power the garage, and I had that extension cord and spliced it and used it with one of those computer backup. I forget what those are called. They're big old boxes for computers. Whenever it's like to prevent power surges and computers from messing up and stuff, or and it has a backup battery. So if power goes out, your mainframe doesn't just die and everything has to be rebooted or anything's lost. So, anyways, I spliced that, used that for that, and used it for all kinds of lights, everything I had in there. And well, it just so happens to be pinching between the metal door I had and the area it was being pinched at had the paint was scraped off, and it just so happened that I had like this really strong magnet on my keychain, which I loved so much because I love magnets. Um, I was opening the door, and as I opened the door, I remember touching the part of the door that I had to like jimmy open before. So I was missing paint, and I remember feeling this little tingle, but it was more like of a warm tingle. And then all of a sudden, my magnet just fell off. Well, like I said, it took me a long time to figure this out and find out, but I was able to Google it and find out how that was plausible. So what I found out is certain type of like certain amounts of energy can travel through someone's body, and basically, if they're making contact with types of magnets or whatnot, it could cause that magnet to demagnetize only because it's like doing some type of opposite energy pull from the magnet, only because of the currents that are traveling not just through the body but through the surface of the skin. And apparently, I have more copper in my blood, so that kind of makes me a little more of a steady conductor instead of having iron in my blood, which just, iron, as we all know, can cause clots and, yeah, doesn't really conduct energy as well. But copper does, and I have a lot of that in my blood. A lot of that in my blood. Healthy banana lemonade. Okay. Healthy banana lemonade. What about garlic in that? Garlic is very good for you. Garlic is very good for your blood flow, circulation. It detoxes as well as strengthens the immune system. It has healing properties. The same as baking soda. Baking soda actually has a lot of good beneficial beneficial effects to the body. Well, there's only one person left, so I'll see you later. I'm gonna go. My phone's about to die, anyways. It's about to die. It's about to croak. Like, uh, yellow. Wait, that's not yellow. That's green. Yeah, my shirt is actually bright, bright yellow. Oh my. I actually haven't talked about none of this stuff in so long that it's kind of awkward for me to bring it up and talk about it again. Look how my hair does. The way the light looks. Well, I actually do kind of have eyes that sink. Anyways, I gotta go. I'm gonna go. Peace. Peace, love, and cheese. Oh, now you can see me. Mhm. Let me see how much battery. I got like 14% left. Big, beautiful eyes. Well, thank you. Yeah, my eyes are kind of big, actually. Peace out. What was it? Peace out. Peace, love, and energy. Peace, love, and energy, and cheese, and lemonade, and banana. Banana lime. Oh man, I remember coming up with my own name for a dinosaur and I totally forgot it just now. I'll remember it later. Oh, I just remembered a Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's like, yeah, describing a person that's like a tyrant. Laugh out loud. Oh, at the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Hmm. Yeah. Let me see. There's 4 people, 2 likes. I guess it's really hard to like what I talk about whenever it's like a bunch of random shit that kind of connects at some point, but you gotta like stay long enough in order to find that out. So I don't even blame nobody. Definitely don't blame nobody for that. Eventually I'll get good at the communication thing once again and I will be able to verbally express and yeah, definitely be able to get the message out there. I think I'm still looking for the exact message though. Talk about it. Yo, let's talk about it. Let's talk about sex, baby. I'm not really being serious. Well, really, I wish, honestly, I wish like there was a bunch of us that could be like in a think tank because I don't want to just talk about stuff. It doesn't come out that good when I'm just talking myself. It's a lot better when there's actually like communication, conversation, and like a think tank. talk about it. I'll talk about this too before my phone dies completely. So, one thing I like to do is I like to get my Google Translator, and I will sometimes it just comes to me. So then what I do is I will talk the word, I'll say the word into the Google Translator and find out if there's a language that has that word and find out the meaning of that word, which is usually really crazy because it's always like really relatable to whatever it is I'm going through or talking about or wanting to get across to somebody at the time. Pretty awesome though. Yeah, I know. There's really nobody on here, and I know why too. Because you can only see my face. I'm not like, you know, showing no breastises, no cleavages, and, you know, being like, yo, fuck you. You want to talk shit? Yo, you ain't got nothing to say. I don't give a fuck. Or be like, catch me outside, right? I opened your eyes for a minute. Like, I made you question something, or you probably already had the information, and then I said something that probably brought it to you clearly for, for that moment. Am I right? It's okay if I'm wrong. Open your eyes. Y'all want to hear a song I made up? Like, literally just made up, like, out of nowhere. I might not I might not sing it very good, but it does have a little bit of a message in it, and it's pretty different. So what happened was I make a lot of crazy stuff, music and stuff, and one time somebody had commented on my stuff and told me like, why don't you make something that's actually relatable to a group of people, something that can be understood by a group of people, something that sound more not so freestyled, but like if you know, well, they told me to write it down and actually make it, a song. And I just wanted to prove myself and prove them that I could do that, freestyling as well. And I was like, okay, so it's definitely like not my genre of music, but it is something that would touch a group of people. So, excuse me if my voice sounds really, but here we go. Okay, so it goes. So the time comes on by, and it doesn't stop for no one. So you better hope that you find love sometimes. Okay, I'm trying to be a little quiet too. In your life, life is so much more beautiful when you have someone's trust, and it's okay, even if it isn't alright, 'cause this too shall pass, even if you don't want it to. So you better do more than take a picture, 'cause it won't guarantee against the fire. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. So that song was basically just about, you know, um, nowadays, like in today's day, it's better to find like peace and love somewhere, somehow, as well as so so the time comes on. Um, so the time comes on by saying that time doesn't wait for nobody. Yeah, and it doesn't wait for no one. It doesn't stop for no one. So you better hope you find love, meaning as in don't give up on love. Just keep an open mind. Don't hope for love. Don't wait for love, but don't deny it in any form that it comes in. Um, appreciate any love and all love that comes your way, because without being able to learn and practice how to do that, you won't be able to recognize true love, the strong kind of love that could actually make a huge difference in your life. And then it goes, so time doesn't stop for no one. So you better hope. And then I'm going, so the time comes on by and it doesn't stop for no one. So you better hope that you find love sometimes. So find love sometimes also means, there's more than one type of love. There's all kinds of love. You can even love more than one person. Um, but it's never going to be the same type of love for any one person. Every love will always be different for someone. Um, okay, so I forgot where I was at. Since it was a freestyle, this is really hard for me to like just remember off the bat and stuff. So the time comes on by. Oh, great. I forgot where I was at. So the time comes on by, and it doesn't stop for no one. So you better hope that you find love sometimes in your life. Life is so much. Okay, so life is so much more beautiful when you can find someone you love and trust. When you can find somebody you trust, you can be yourself. Therefore, you don't have to hide. You don't have to be alone and um, fight all the time. You won't always have to be in that fight or flight mode. Um, so much more beautiful when you have someone's trust. And it's okay, even if it is okay. So, and it's okay, even if it isn't all right, means it is okay, even if people don't agree with that type of love. Ooh, I just gave myself goosebumps. Oh my God, I remember I did feel so much emotion for that song. Um, God, I seriously got goosebumps on my legs. Um, Even if it isn't alright, this too shall pass. Even if you don't want it to. So I'm using basically like scriptures from the Bible. This too shall pass, only to get also grasp other people's attention, and then I'm explaining how this too shall pass, meaning as in when you find that love, you want to be prepared to enjoy it and absorb it and appreciate it while it's there and while it's existing, because we're never promised anything. We're never promised anything at all. So who knows? Love is so strong it could last forever, but there's no telling what could actually separate. Life and death exists. So, and that's what I'm saying. Like, so, and then I go on to saying that it's okay even if it isn't all right, meaning as in it's okay even if it's like same sex and people don't agree with it, because nowadays the way so much has gone on, who's to say what is the right love or not? It's all about companionship and all about what, you know, what two people can do for each other in life, to represent each other, to help each other grow and evolve. What if we're not just supposed to evolve physically? What if we're literally supposed to evolve mentally? Ooh, I gave myself goosebumps on the other leg. So, anyways, um, even if it isn't alright, this too shall pass. Even if we don't. Okay, so this too shall pass, even if we don't want it to. So we better do more than take a picture, meaning as in people all even okay, so there's like a lot of those people that are judgmental that have like the picture perfect lives with their families and stuff like that. Just because they take pictures doesn't mean that they're proving their love is so much more real. If anything, it could even just be a mask, and a mask to excuse their their um their denial of depth that they actually have within that love. And so that's why I say, um, do more than take a picture, because it won't stand against the fire. Meaning, as in, how many houses burn down and people's photo albums go down in flames? So it's like, photo albums go down in flames. If you didn't do what it takes to capture those memories and keep them dear to you, then those photo albums, you're only crying about those photo albums for the most part because of the guilt you feel inside for not remembering those moments as well as you would have or been able to show like you do remember those moments, because you have a picture to remind you of the story. So, and then it also like a double conundrum. It also has a different another motive and meaning as in, you know um you know in the fires of hell, you know only real strong love could even outlast that, outlive that, withstand that. um so you better do more and take a picture, because it won't guarantee against the fire. And I forgot the rest anyways. But that song was a little bit longer, had more meaning into it and stuff like that. But yeah, if you go to my page, my YouTube page, like in the very beginning stages of my posting, I have like probably like one or two songs on there that are like definitely not the same close at all genre. But yeah, one of those songs are kind of throwed, and it's like my favorite just because I'm using like this crazy voice that's not really mine. And it was for my ex fiance. Wish he would understand it, you know, understand the meaning and underlining of it. But yeah, the way I sing it is a little weird, so I wouldn't blame anybody who couldn't. So, anyways, bye everybody. Good night, or good morning, good day, good year. I'm looking tired because I am getting tired. I actually was asleep for like a little bit, but I should have stayed asleep. And I didn't. I didn't stay asleep. I woke up. I heard a noise and let it keep me up. So I kept myself up. Yeah. My phone just told me turn on super saving mode. Super saving mode. I have like a really weird face. Like I'm pretty, but at the same time not pretty. I have like not that great. Like I'm not photogenic. I'm not photogenic at all. I do have an underbite. You can't. Can you tell? You could probably tell. I have an underbite, which isn't too noticeable because of my lips, but that's usually when I'm not talking. Oh my goodness. Like when I'm not talking. My hair looks longer in this too, and it's not. It's not actually that long. Well, anyways,